What's going on, everyone? Trevor Lane over at Lakers Nation recently revealed his video of the ideal offseason for the Lakers. And I wanted to dive into it and give my thoughts and opinions and have a discussion with you all. So make sure you join the conversation down in the comment section below. Also, that video will be linked in the description. Go check it out after this video. I highly recommend it. So jumping right into it, ideally, the Lakers lineup would look like at point guard, Brogdon, Reeves, Carter, Javian Carter, and then Mac Jones. And then you have shooting guard would be Hield, Wes, Forbes, and then small forward LeBron, OPJ, Otto Porter Jr., and then Stanley Johnson, and then Jackson, which we'll dive into all of these as well. Davis, Gabriel, and Melo at power forward, and Christian Wood, Jones, Damian Jones, and then Kai, who is a likely undrafted free agent in this upcoming draft. And now he went into and dove into the power forward spot being the weakest spot, but that the small forwards could kind of move over, like LeBron, OPJ, Stanley, even Jackson could all play the power forward position. I mean, Christian Wood could also play the power forward position because he can shoot the ball. He can step out a little bit. He's not Anthony Davis in that regard, but he's still a guy that could play power forward in spots if need be. But diving into these players, right? So the way we come to it is Westbrook is traded for Brogdon and Buddy Hield, which I think would be a great trade, right? That's the highlighted trade that is speculated to be the most likely to take place. He also dives into how they'd give up a first-round draft pick for Westbrook. So Westbrook, first-round draft pick for Brogdon and Hield. I think Brogdon and Hield would be great with LeBron. He's like, these two players are those like ideal players next to LeBron. Buddy Hield was a player that they tried to get last year, but they ended up going with Westbrook instead. You still get Hield, a guy that can just get, in fuego, like literally just lights out shooting. Brogdon is sort of a 3-and-D type point guard, but he's a guy that slots perfectly next to LeBron because he can hit the open shot. He can run the point if need be. He's very versatile in that regard. So I do think that this is a great trade for the Lakers. And then obviously the Indiana Pacers, the reason they would be taking on Westbrook is because they are a rebuilding team. They want the draft capital or the free agent capital next offseason. So they would take on Westbrook, have him running for a year, and then that leads into the offseason where $47 million is now off the books, where Brogdon and Buddy Hield are essentially $80 million over the course of several years. So they relieve themselves of that space. And then it's a win-win all around for both teams. That's why I think it makes sense. And then the next step would be how they acquired Christian Wood, would be for Taylor Horton-Tucker, as well as a first-round draft pick, which, because they still have 2 draft picks, they give one to Indiana, one to Houston, and then also Kendrick Nunn would be attached to that as well. And the Rockets' idea is they get a young prospect who's only 21 years old, who's at the age of a lot of the players that are in this upcoming draft. He has a lot of growth, a lot of potential. He's a guy that can play multiple positions, guard multiple positions with his long wingspan. Christian Wood is kind of the odd man out in Houston, especially depending on who they draft in this upcoming draft. The top 3 are basically big men that could take the spot of Christian Wood. So it's very likely they could move off of him. Kendrick Nunn is the sort of wild card. If he returns to Miami for him, then the Rockets picked up, a 20-point-a-game guy. If he's, a guy that's kind of leaning in, well, he's a free agent after next year. You clear that cap, and it's just a good spot to be in. Taylor Horton-Tucker has that player option next year, so he could opt in, or they could work out a new contract for the future for him. It's just a young guy. You get a draft pick in the future. It's again, sort of that win-win for Houston. Houston is another team rebuilding, and Christian Wood slots in with the Lakers beautifully, right? You have Christian Wood, Anthony Davis, and LeBron. You've got the 2 bigs, very reminiscent of 2022 or 2020, where they won the NBA championship. So, 2023, they likely followed that same suit, that same model. You got a big that can shoot from the outside in a Brook Lopez style, which Darvin Ham fits that beautifully with the Milwaukee Bucks. So you got a big man that can step outside, knock down threes. Anthony Davis is another big man that can step outside, knock down threes. Although last year in 2022, he wasn't as efficient, but hopefully he's working on the offseason to kind of get back to that true form. Because when the bubble year, they won, he was knocking down everything from mid-range, outside, and Christian Wood is another guy that can do that. I think Christian Wood can guard multiple positions. He's not as good at getting out in the perimeter as Anthony Davis is, but it's still a guy that can do a lot and be efficient in many ways. And then Otto Porter Jr. is a guy on the Golden State Warriors who are currently in the finals, has played a big role. He was great in game one. He was like 4 or 5 from 3. 3-and-D guy, can do multiple things. Now, the issue with Otto Porter Jr., which Lakers Nation brought up as well, is that the lack of, incentive as far as finances go for this upcoming season. The taxpayer mid-level is all they could offer, which is roughly $4 or $5 million, which the Warriors can offer the same thing. If the Warriors win the championship and all that's out there for OPJ is that level, then it's very likely he stays with the Warriors. Now, if they win the championship, he's in demand. Maybe teams offer him more, and now he's looking at an 11 to 12 million. So I don't think he is realistically achievable. The argument was that the Lakers could offer him more playing time, a starting role, things like that, to kind of, if you're going to make the same amount of money either way with the Warriors or the Lakers, wouldn't you want to come to the Lakers and get more playing time to highlight things and then maybe get a bigger contract next year? That was kind of the thinking, kind of the logic, which does make a lot of sense. I just don't see the Lakers getting him. I just think either he's going to stay with the Warriors, whether they win or lose, for the same amount, or he's going to go to another team that's going to offer him a lot more money. I just don't see him filling in for the Lakers, although I would love it. I mean, this is a perfect pickup for the Los Angeles Lakers. This would be a guy that could slot in, would be perfect next to LeBron, can guard multiple positions, play multiple positions. He can just do so much on both ends of the ball. He's been just on fire from three-point range, especially in the playoffs, but throughout the season, he was a consistent guy, 3-and-D guy, which the Lakers desperately need. And he is a guy that is obtainable. He's a guy that is reasonable. It isn't going to demand too much. He's not a $20 million a year guy. He's likely going to be looking at somewhere, best case scenario, 8 to maybe 12 million, because there are teams out there that will overpay. But if he's looking at the taxpayers mid-level, then you're looking at, about 4 to 5 million, which he may be for a bigger role. If he wants to kind of highlight more, maybe he wants to play with LeBron, stuff like that. There are still a lot of players in the NBA that want to play with LeBron. But as far as the whole Lakers team, I think that this team would be ideal in many ways given what is out there. The options are very limited. And you have LeBron James, who only has so many years left. Like, let's say he has at most 2, maybe 3 years of playing at a high level of basketball, which it would be unprecedented, right? But let's say he does. You need to capitalize and go for the window that you have. You need to do whatever it takes to put the best team around him. And I think Hield, if you can get Porter, if you can, get Brogdon, those are 3 guys right there that really are players that benefit from LeBron and his creation. And then to have a Christian Wood, and again, another guy that really benefits from LeBron. All of these players are going to be the best versions of themselves playing next to LeBron James, who's going to put them in the best position possible. You got to have LeBron run point, but you have multiple guys that can step up and actually do things necessary to alleviate LeBron and allow him to play off the ball. This last season, we saw LeBron with a much improved three-point shot. So he's a guy that can knock down the three consistently. So that's good. He could play off the ball. He could play on the ball. But primarily he's going to play on the ball. And that was the issue with the Westbrook and LeBron, is that they both need the ball in their hands to be effective. So you go get guys that don't need that. You go get guys that can bring the ball up, initiate the offense, but ultimately it goes to LeBron. And you're building around pieces for LeBron that he can sort of lead to the promised land. And I mean, I've said this countless times. LeBron and Anthony Davis together, you can never rule them out. The previous year, they very likely could have beaten the Suns if Anthony Davis didn't get hurt. They were up 2-1. The Suns looked dead in the water. Anthony Davis gets hurt. And it was it. That was over. Like, Anthony Davis was a huge mismatch for them and was dominating that series. And he ended up gets hurt, and then that's what that is. And then this last season, Davis and LeBron couldn't stay healthy. Westbrook didn't work. It was just a disaster of a season. And then 2 seasons prior to that, they win the championship. So I think LeBron and Anthony Davis alone are good enough if you have the right pieces around him to really lead you to the promised land. And I mean, once you get to the playoffs, we've seen countless times anything can happen. Does this team make them a contender? I don't think so on paper, but we've seen based on teams like Dallas and stuff, like chemistry is everything, right? Chemistry is very important. And the pieces, knowing their roles, being a part of the offense, knowing what they need to do is, again, very important. We're seeing that with the Warriors and the Celtics. You know, Al Horford, he knows his role. He knows his job. And he's out there constantly doing that regularly. And so I think that if the Lakers put pieces around LeBron that know their role and are okay with that and are willing to accept that and do what is necessary, I think that is more beneficial than going and getting a third star or whatever the case may be. And you have a Christian Wood guy who is a, 15 to 20 plus a game guy already. You add LeBron, I see him consistently being able to be that third guy. He could consistently average 15 to 20 a game with LeBron James and LeBron putting him in the proper positions. Not just that, but you have a lot of interchangeable pieces because LeBron and Anthony Davis are missing at least 20 plus games this year. And the problem is you need a team that can be successful without LeBron and Anthony Davis for several games. Hopefully they don't miss games together, but you need a team that can win without both of them, but also win with either or. And I do think that this is a team that can do that. I just don't know if they can compete with the Warriors or the Celtics or those teams of the NBA stature. I mean, Dallas, I think as great as Dallas was, I think that it was very apparent what their issue is, and we'll see what the offseason takes place and what unfolds and what actually develops. I imagine a lot of teams are going to get a lot better. So I just think the Lakers have a lot of competition. But at the end of the day, the Lakers don't care about being the 1 seed, the 2 seed, anything. They just want to get into the playoffs and not be in the play-in. So even if they get the 6 seed, that's a great spot to be in. Because you have guys that have experience, that know what they're doing, that can tie in, that can do all the things that are very important. And once LeBron and Anthony Davis are in the championship or in the playoffs, the championship is not out of the realm of possibility. But the last little thing I wanted to add is Dwight Howard. Now, I understand Kai. I understand Damian Jones. I understand the logic and thinking is that, you get those bigs that can shot block, play defense, knock down outside shots. It fits into Boston or Milwaukee's system, which is great. But you have that in Christian Wood and you have that in Anthony Davis. We need a big body that understands his role, that is willing to accept his role, that can be effective, that can bang with the Jokic and the Embiids of the world. This roster that was put together doesn't have that. So I think you need to add Dwight Howard because Dwight Howard is a guy that is okay with not playing. Like, he's gotten plenty of DNPs and he didn't complain. He did what was best for the team. He's a guy that knows his role. I'm just going to rebound, get putbacks, get lobs, play defense, be that energy guy off the bench. I think he's a guy that knows, being with as many stints as he has with the Lakers, he's a guy that knows his role and has accepted it and is willing to do what is necessary to fulfill that role. And I think you need that big body because the problem is if you have a Damian Jones, you have a Kai, you have a Christian Wood, Anthony Davis doesn't like to bang with the big boys, right? That's always been the big issue. And Christian Wood is, yes, he's a 6'10" guy, but he doesn't have the size and stature to go up against the big boys, right? So he's very easily to be pushed around and all of those things. Anthony Davis and Christian Wood are more finesse than get down low and bang, right? You need that guy that can go get you a technical. You need that guy that can punch somebody in the mouth if need be, and Dwight Howard is that guy now. Dwight Howard is the guy that'll bump and bruise and do the stuff, the heavy lifting. If you face, say a Denver in the playoffs, you need that guy. You need somebody that can get under Jokic's skin like we saw in the bubble year. You need a guy that can, just make it difficult, get in his grill, get in his body. And I think Dwight Howard is that guy. So this is the one addition I would suggest picking up outside of that. Now, Malik Monk is somebody a lot of people really want to see. I just don't think it's realistic. I think he's the last resort for your mid-level exception, your taxpayers mid-level. I would love to have him back. I think he's great, but he is that six-man guy. He is the guy that comes in and just gives you that scoring, and the problem is that the Lakers didn't need that last season. They needed defense. The Lakers didn't have a ton of problems scoring. They had a ton of problems stopping other teams from scoring. And I think that they need to start putting together guys that really benefit that position. But anyway, as always, I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think about this idea? What do you think about everything we discussed in this video? What do you think about Dwight Howard coming back in place of like a Damian Jones or something along those lines? Are you okay with that? Are you not? I look at it as like, we need that big, stocky body. We need that guy that can bang down low, which the roster that was put together by Lakers Nation, as great as I think it was, and as realistic as I think it was, I just think that you need that guy for the big matchups. The DeMarcus Cousins, the Jokic, like I said, Embiid, if you end up playing them in the finals or whatever. You need that guy that can go and be that big, solid guy in the middle of the paint for certain matchups. And, even size advantage, stuff like that. Even when you're playing the Warriors, having that guy that can bang down low and just make it difficult. I think a Dwight Howard really fits, and he's a guy that understands and will accept his role, which I think is a huge thing. We need guys that are willing to do that. We need guys that are willing to do whatever is necessary for the team. And I think that is the most important thing. You need the defense. You need the younger guys. You keep Stanley Johnson. You keep Gabriel, Austin Reeves, obviously. Those players you need to keep. They play the defense. They know the roles. They're willing to take on the roles. We just need to get more of those guys. But anyway, again, let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. Check the description for the link to the Lakers Nation video. I highly recommend you check it out after this video. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.